Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Talkative Thursdays series, a 4-episode podcast part of the Eurodesk Time to Move campaign. I'm your host, Stefanos, and today we have an exciting episode for you on volunteerism and solidarity. On today's episode, we will be talking about volunteerism and solidarity, and more specifically, what is the EU Solidarity Corps program and how can young people apply for volunteering opportunities. Joining me today are Magda Shikor, Program Officer of the Polish National Agency, and Maša Bulatovic, a former EU Solidarity Corps participant. Welcome both.
Hi.
Okay.
Magda, let's start with you. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yeah, my name is Magda. I work in the National Agency of European Solidarity Corps in Poland. We are responsible for managing the program on the national basis. My main responsibility is volunteering projects. As well, I'm coordinator of Europeers Network. And before joining agency, I was volunteer myself.
Great, thank you very much. And now, Maša, we're on to you. Can you also introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yes, of course. I'm Maša, coming from Split, Croatia. I'm a person with disability, but actually I'm many other things too. I'm a sportwoman, artist, engineer, motivator, volunteer, also teacher, daughter, sister, also very passionate swimmer, sometimes also chess player and quiz player. I want to say with this that this car accident that bring me to wheelchair, which I had when I had 16, didn't stop me from developing of my personality, and like to use didn't stop me to use opportunities which life is giving, maybe even opposite. It helped me it helped me exactly with my travelings, and that I had courage to try new experiences.
Thank you very much for this. So today's episode is about volunteering. What exactly is volunteerism? Maybe we can start with you, Magda. What is volunteerism?
For me, it's quite simple. It's doing something good for others, or something valuable or important for the local community.
Great definition. And what about you, Maša?
Yeah, I agree with Magda. But I would say it's not only helping; it's also many other things like team working. It's spreading horizons, understandings to each other, also developing characters, deeping soul. It's this feeling of being useful, which is sometimes very, very important. And it's also, I would express that it's making a change in local community, but also wider, with rising of awareness, and sometimes like I see it like building mountain from nothing, even sometimes from the hole in ground.
Why should young people volunteer and apply to all those volunteerism opportunities? What do you think, Magda?
I think it's a great chance to test the skills or even discover what I'm good at or what might be my future hobby. I always say to people interested in the program that it's kind of a playground for them to see if they will like something or not. Also, very good for the local communities. So it's a win-win situation for all parts of the story. So it's
What about you, Masha? Why do you think young people should volunteer?
Also, it gives the opportunity to travel and even live abroad without expenses. What is important, it gives clearer picture of what they are and what they want to be, or what they want to work in the future.
Great. Yeah. And now that we, discuss about volunteerism and the importance, maybe it's time to mention to our audience what type of volunteerism programs are there, out there for them to participate. And I will ask this question to you, Magda, since you are the expert on the volunteerism programs. So what programs for volunteerism can young people participate to?
The most well-known program within the EU projects is the European Solidarity Corps program. It allows young people to do the volunteering abroad even for a long time, but also some local actions as solidarity projects. So depending on what is your motivation, how much time do you have, and how, let's say, brave you are to go to the other end of the continent, there are few options for you to discover.
So the European Solidarity Corps is for young people that they want to volunteer abroad, outside of their country, and the Solidarity Project to volunteer in their country. Am I correct?
Yes, that's true. You can also do the volunteering projects in your country as well if you are not able to go abroad. But this happens quite rarely. Usually it's going abroad.
If I was 18 years old and somebody told me, yeah, you can go volunteer abroad, fully funded, that the European Union covers you almost everything, I think I wouldn't believe it in the that such program exists, but it does. Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Magda and Masha. I'm coming to you now. And why have you chosen to volunteer? Why not doing an internship abroad, let's say?
First, I was doing already some like internships relating to my expectation, engineering. In that moment, when I decided for volunteering, I was working in IT company, and I wanted to volunteer because I saw that they offered their bunch of like opportunities related to young people, to youth, to children, which I was finding much more inspiring somehow to try myself in it, because otherwise I would never try it. There is no so easy possibility in my local community to do it. And then after working for long, even 1 year there, I somehow decided that I want to do it for the rest of life. I wanted to try how it is, to emphasize this, that I can help others, and that I can be very useful in it, and it came true.
Wow, this is a very nice message to pass. Actually, how did you find about this opportunity?
I heard about it because my two friends from my city went abroad to volunteer, and first was hearing about their experience, and then through association help they went away to volunteer, and there in association help I also learned foreign languages. So this situation was first when I heard it, and when I decided to try it, I start to search on pages European Solidarity Corp, EU Youth Portal. This European Solidarity Corps platform is within EU European Youth Portal. So there, I filtered. It's possible also to filter many opportunities, not only volunteering, but also other types. And also through I was like choosing a country. I had some dilemma. I mean, I had also to think about, will it be good for wheelchair, that I can live there for a long time alone. So I did and honestly a lot of mails. When I find the opportunity, I came in contact with mail. I sent mail and I explained my situation, and then many times was zero, nothing, not possible, not accessible. But then little by little, I came to, after a few months, on few possibilities that are, let's say, possible, considering accessible flat and accessible working place. And then with some interviews, it came came that I'm going to Poland, to this beautiful Wrocław.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Masha. So for the next question, I'm coming to you, Magda. How does the EU Solidarity Corps program support volunteers financially during their service?
The whole program is meant to be free for everyone, meaning that the volunteers should not have any costs. Uh, they don't need to cover anything by themselves. And each organization that wants to host volunteers should provide them the accommodation, some kind of food allowance, or organized food for them. Uh, Another thing that is covered is the travel to country of the volunteering, but also travel going back home. In case it's needed, local transportation in their place of work as well. In health insurance is covered as well, and each volunteer receive pocket money, which it's maybe not a lot to have everything covered as much as we want, but it should be enough for some, travel or going out with friends every now and then.
I see some advertisements, mostly not in Europe. I will not say the country, but not in Europe, that they are advertising their volunteering programs, but they require volunteers to pay to access those programs. Whereas here with the Solidarity Corp, you don't need to need to pay for anything.
Yes, that's true. The program is meant to be very inclusive and to not, we don't want anyone to be stopped from participating in the program if they have any kind of problem with economical problems. And I need to point out that the program is not only in Europe, there are 54 countries, and also some very exotic and remote destinations like Aruba or Curacao, which are former colonies. So it's not only Europe, it can be almost all over the world, including EU aid. And to add also the financial support in the whole program, if you are doing the solidarity projects, every young person or the group that makes the program receives some kind of allowance per month, and also allowance for the expert that or coach that can help them do the projects. And these amounts varies from country to country. But it's also for example, in Poland, it's almost 600 euros per month, which is quite a decent money to organize some local activities.
How can young people apply to organize those local activities?
It's a application like in a lot of other grants or programs. I believe it's one of the easiest projects to write and to develop, and later on to submit the final report that everything was done properly. There are 2 or 3 deadlines per year when a group of 5 people uh, submit their proposal, their action plans, some kind of objectives that they have, they want to achieve. They make very simple draft of the schedule, meaning in month 1 we want to do this and this, and the second month we do another thing, and the third one we do yet another thing. And the group who will develop the projects are these 5 people. Each of them have skills and they will be responsible for this or that. So we don't ask anyone to have some strategic approach, some huge or important goals and objectives and very complicated forms. It's meant to be accessible and available really for young people that will develop the project. The language doesn't have to be super serious. I would even say that if it's not so serious and you can see that it was written by young people, it even gives another visibility and extra points, let's say, because we see, okay, this is actual real person, young one, who prepared the project and who have the idea.
Some of our listeners can want to launch any local projects through the Solidarity project. Please let us know if after this podcast you are thinking to do some local activities. We'll be very happy to hear about them. Magda, you also said earlier that the organizations in the Solidarity Corps, they are in charge of providing health insurance to the volunteers. What about the overall, well-being of the volunteers during their assignment? How does the program, the Solidarity Corps, ensure their safety?
Mhm. This actually starts way before a volunteer comes to the country to take part in the project, because each organization that is involved in the program needs to have a quality label. It's some kind of certificate that is proof that this organization knows the rules of the program, can provide certain level of help, of mentoring, of um, financial support to the volunteer, and that it's comparable with no matter in which country the volunteer will work. We want to make sure that no matter if you are going for the project in Poland, in Norway, in Portugal, you will receive the maybe not exactly the same, but the comparable support level of care, and that the experience will be some kind of similar. And each organization that will be involved in the work with volunteer is obligated to have this certificate before the volunteer starts the activity. So by this, we are sure that volunteer will not be alone. And in order to go abroad for the projects, each volunteer have to have supporting organization that will help the volunteer prepare for the project, support him do or her during entire time of service, but as well will help the volunteer accommodate back in the country after they got back home, because this is also very important thing to that needs to be taken care of. And during the stay, during the project, each volunteer should have support of their hosting organization. That people in this organization should help them with work, provide all necessary information, but also arrange a mentor for such volunteer. It's some kind of first friend in a new country that will give some practical tips or tricks how to survive in the city, maybe get to know with first few friends, show them the first I don't know, coffee or a bar or some nice places to visit during the free time. Of course, each volunteer who stays in the project as an individual volunteer should also take part in the on arrival training, which is also a great chance for the volunteers to meet people that are in the same country, that started the projects in the similar time. So it's already some peers that people can talk with, exchange their ideas, their reflect on their experience so far, and then maybe have a chance to visit them in their cities, places of work, and we know that this happens a lot of time.
The mentor, I didn't know that this existed, and it's a very very nice idea to have somebody, as soon as you arrive, to show you around and so on. And great. Masha, I want to ask you if you have anything to add based on your personal experience and your time you spent volunteering in Poland?
For example, accompanator for first few days for like using on new situation on adaptation for first days, and also on leaving. So plane ticket and accommodation for accompanator. It was possible to have extra fundings for sending packages. For example, a person with disability can come in situation where she needs some specific equipment. Then also for a place where volunteers stay, if it's not completely accessible, for example, if there are some little adaptations needed, there is possible to have funds for it. You know, you have to have paper of a specialist doctor who is sending you there. They translate it. It doesn't have to be even translated on English. They have their translator in Signa Insurance, and then they are like after you pay, they can refund you later. But there is also possibility, at least I met with this, with extra mentoring. It's not only that I had a person who meets with me, shows me around, but also she was working some extra hours with me, so she can help me with translation, with conversations with the doctor in beginning when I couldn't do it myself, with some like specialists, with physiotherapists.
Another question for Magda regarding the challenges in volunteering, because usually, when I go back home and I speak with my friends and I tell them, yeah, you should really try, volunteer and go abroad with the Solidarity Corps program. They usually say to me that, but why to volunteer? Because most of the time, volunteerism is not recognized as a work experience. Isn't it better to do, an internship where they will receive some work experience for their CVs and so on? So, like, I want to ask this question to you, Magda. Is volunteerism, recognized officially as a work experience in Europe?
Company or organization even ask if a person have some kind of youth pass or another certificate. There are a lot of things that are not maybe written, but for sure, for example, if a person was abroad during the volunteering projects, probably they know the language, and we don't even have to have a certificate proving that this person knows the language, because if he or she survived 1 year in a foreign country, it has to mean that some kind of skills this person have. Otherwise, I don't think how this person would survive.
So Masha mentioned as well earlier that you can apply directly for volunteering opportunities through the European Youth Portal. But Magda, what steps should young people take more concretely to find and apply for volunteering opportunities through the Solidarity Corps?
Number one step is always register yourself in European Youth Portal and create a profile. It will allow you to browse through the opportunities, but also organization will be able to contact you with their opportunities or their offers for you. So it means that you will not need to look for a volunteering project, because the project can find you without any work. Another thing is thinking like what I would like to do, or maybe if country is my priority, where I want to do a little bit of research about the organization that can support me or that can host me, maybe contact with them, find a local organization that can help me with a journey, or maybe ask former volunteers how how they prepared themselves for the volunteering, or maybe they have some um, successful stories where they were doing the volunteering projects, or maybe they have some recommendations. And or if you want to do the local volunteering, you have to collect for other young people that will do the projects with you, and together you have to think about an idea and prepare the project by themselves.
Great. And are there any specific eligibility criteria for the also for the solidarity core, but also for the solidarity projects?
Person to participate in the project, to be involved in action, has to be between 18 years old and 30 years old. If somebody have already 30 years old, they can still participate in the project. The important thing is you should start your project when you are still 30 years old. So you can literally live and participate in a project 1 week before your 31st birthday. There is an exception with EU aid volunteering, the humanitarian volunteering. This is up to 35 years, and but the starting point is 18 years old, as always, everywhere. People can register in the European Youth Portal when they are already 17, but you can start the project only when you are 18. And when it comes to solidarity projects, it's the same. You don't have to have backup of any organization, any registered entity. You can do this as an individual person or as a group, informal group of young people. So if you have a cool idea or something that you would like to change and you don't have support of organization, it's not a thing that can stop you. You still are eligible to do the project and participate in a program. You can ask organization to help you, but from the rules of the program, you can do it by yourself as well.
Well, I think I need to hurry a bit because I have 1.5 years left for Solidarity Corp, and after that I will not be able to do it anymore. So I need to hurry a bit and do one before I turn 30.
But even if you are already too old to take active part in the project, there are opportunities to be part of the European Solidarity Corps as well. You can be a mentor for a volunteer who comes to the country, to be their first friend. Or, for example, you can be coach of people, young people doing the solidarity projects. I don't know, knowledge about social media or about budget or about event management. You can help them prepare their own small projects. And even though you are not the active like member of the group that is responsible for the project, you're still part of it. And to do this, you can be even 100 years old, and there's nothing that could stop it.
How many times a young person can participate in a volunteering activity through the Solidarity Corps?
The long-term volunteering project, you can take part in it only once in a lifetime. It's supposed we want as many people as possible to participate it, and for this, every person can take part in it only once. Uh, Sometimes you can take part firstly in a short-term project that will last from 2 weeks until 2 months, and then take part in the long-term projects. But this opportunity is directed to people who, for because of some reasons, for example, health conditions, they are not take part in a project that is for 1 year old, 1 year. Maybe they in order for them to see how everything is done, or just to have this opportunity to experience it, they can participate in a project that lasts much shorter than the long term opportunity. Another set of opportunities is the team volunteering. These projects last up to 59 days, and there is no limit on how many times you can participate in it. You can literally go to the participate in a project every year until you're 30 years old, and this is fine.
And my next question is for you, Masha. What advice would you give to other young people who are interested in volunteering abroad?
I would say be brave to try, because sometimes something that seems impossible, difficult, just if you try, go for it, immerse yourself on it. On the end, you feel so proud of yourself that you tried, and you find out that it wasn't so difficult, and something that you find impossible on the end. And with that, you are moving your boundaries.
Are there any myths or stereotypes about volunteering that we should address? And Magda, I will start with you.
I think the first myth is that in order to participate in any EU project, you have to be a student. And the truth is, student mobilities are only a very small part of a huge jar of opportunities. And in a lot of them, you don't need to have students, you don't need to have any kind of experience or background. You can literally decide to take part in it. And within days, you can be already a participant. You don't have to be a student, and even if you don't have any or you left school pretty early, you still can participate in the projects. Maybe another stereotype is that it's just that you will be kind of a cheap labor for the organization. The truth is, volunteers are often the most um, valuable thing for the organization, because they are providing them with new perspectives, new ideas. And especially if a volunteer is working with children, or is doing some kind of workshops in schools, in the other associations, usually they are stars of the project. They are the most popular and most important person for children. Usually it's the volunteer that has the biggest authority for them, and they want to spend time with it. So you can see that this person means much more for the people than it's just the person that will, I don't know, just copy some documents, or do the job that nobody else wants to do. Usually it's the other way around. Yeah, like we said in the beginning, sometimes it may seem like it's a scam, or that you for sure you have to pay for something, but it's true that it's not paid for you, and it shouldn't be paid for you. If there are organization, or you see something that is you are asked to pay, maybe it's worth investigating a little bit more, because the project should be available for everybody. Fear of being alone, but as Masha said, and there are always people that are you are surrounded with them, or volunteers, organization, local mentors. You can also participate in a project with a friend, with somebody else. You don't have to apply alone. You can, together with a best friend, you can try to look for a project for both of you, and it's fine to do it. And also that you need to speak fluently language of the country that you are going to be a volunteer. Uh, just it basically, you don't have to speak any language at all as well. It will be a huge challenge for you probably, but it doesn't mean that you are required to speak the language. You can learn the language already when you are there in the new country as well.
Great. So to recap, you don't need to be a student to participate. Volunteers, they are not cheap labor. They are very valuable for the organizations. It's definitely not a scam. If you are scared, let's say, of being alone, you can apply with your friend as well for volunteerism, and you don't necessarily need to know the language of the place that you go to volunteer. What about you, Masha? Do you have anything else to add in those myths or stereotypes?
I would say that big prejudice and stereotype is that these disabled people can't work, are not able to work. And then what is coming from there, that people with disability are not able to volunteer and help others. That's another thing that is not true. There is like a myth that after volunteering, you are again on the zero, on beginning. In my experience, it was exactly opposite. And also I believe that as Magda said, that there are many others examples where people continue to work in some field through association or through some other way. But for example, when I came back to Croatia, some not only association help, which employed me and where I'm working now, and which also made for with who I also made this campaign, big 3 months campaign. There were also another associations with people for people with disability, who gave me opportunity to continue work what I did in Poland, and I was a kindergarten teacher. They gave me opportunity to apply project in Croatia, in my city, to continue to work in kindergarten with children, but in domestic kindergarten, local kindergarten. So it was really something amazing that changed actually my life and my path, because now currently I'm on sick holidays because of the situation that I mentioned, but I know that I have so spread horizon, so big opportunities, because they are again interested to continue with this project, because it's something unique. It's auntie on wheels, teacher on wheels, which is something that doesn't exist still. I've never heard for in all Europe. I think it doesn't exist. So it's really something that I'm looking forward to continue with it. And also, of course, for many challenges on my work in association help, where we are first time having team volunteering there, where where I will be coordinator, where I can apply knowledges and experience that I learned on my 2 months team volunteering in Poland, and it will be for month against addiction. So yeah, I invite also everyone there. Actually, it will be for Serbian, Bosnian, other Croatians also open, but more like for Croatian spoken countries. And for a campaign that I mentioned, it's called Svi za Mašu, and it's available on Instagram, Facebook, web page, YouTube. There, with this campaign, I start to raising awareness of chronic wounds of people with disability. And there I'm speaking not only, of course, about health and chronic wounds, but also about everyday life of people with disability, traveling. There will come also time where I will speak about my volunteer experience. So I invite everyone to follow it. It can be interesting.
Great. And how can people follow those projects through social media?
People can follow it through Facebook and Instagram page with the name Association Help, Udruga Help. And also there is web page, Udruga Help, Association Help. Yes.
Great. Perfect. Thank you very much. Are now at the end of this episode, but before ending, I have a small game for you that I want to play. So I would like to test your knowledge on volunteerism, and that's why I prepared a small volunteerism trivia game. So here's how it works. I will ask a series of true or false volunteering themed questions to each one of you. And if you answer correctly, you get 1 point. And the person with the most points at the end of the game wins. So are you ready to start?
Yes, ready. Sounds fun.
Okay, so Maša, I will start with you with the first question.
Mm-hmm.
So you can participate in the European Solidarity Corps if you are between 18 and 30 years old.
True. Is it?
Yeah, correct. That's true. Magda mentioned it earlier. That's true. You have 1 point. And Magda, I'm coming to you now. So, the European Youth Portal was launched in 2006.
I will say yes.
It is false, actually. It was launched in 2004. Then we have 1 point for Masha and 0 for Magda at the moment. And then, Masha, I come to you for the second question. So, in 2021, almost 640,000 EU citizens studied, trained, or volunteered abroad in around 126,000 organizations to work on more than 20,000 projects. Is it true or false?
Oh my god. Sounds really a lot. Big number. But I would try with true.
That's correct. That's true, actually. It's a lot of numbers, right? Um, um, Almost 600, like more than 600,000 EU citizens. It's more than half the population of Cyprus, actually.
It's bigger than Croatia.
And okay, then Magda, I come to you for the second question. So, the European Solidarity Corps is managed by the European Parliament. True or false?
False.
That's correct, yeah. It's false. And it is managed by the European Commission together with the national agencies.
Yes.
Great. So we have 2 points for you, Masha, and 1 point for you, Magda. And Masha, I come to you for the last question. So the EU Solidarity Corps team volunteering can last between 2 weeks and 8 months. Is it true or false?
False. It can last, I think, until 2 months maximum, 60 days.
Yes, that is correct. It's false. Yeah, it can last between 2 weeks and two months. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And Magda, I come to you for your last question. So, volunteerism for all is one of the 11 European youth goals established in the EU Youth Strategy. True or false?
False.
Yeah, that's correct. It's false. Yeah, it's not. It's not one of the European youth goals. Okay, so the final result is Masha with 3 points, Magda with 2 points. So congratulations, Masha, for winning the game.
Thanks.
And your prize is, if you are ever in Brussels, feel free to pass by our office, and we will drink a cup of coffee with you.
I
But
would
also
like
you,
it.
Magda. But also you,
Would be
Magda, if
wonderful.
you are in our office, feel free in Brussels, feel free to pass from our office. Thank you very much, Magda and Masha, for sharing your insights and experiences on volunteering. I think we've learned a lot about the solidarity, the EU Solidarity Corps programs, and all the opportunities young people can take advantage of and go abroad, volunteer, or engage in local volunteering project in their country. So I will say young people, they need to make a difference. They need to stay connected. They need to build a brighter future through volunteering. So thank you very much again for joining us and engaging and motivating our young audience to volunteer and experience this amazing program. And as always, for our audience, stay tuned for more exciting episodes of the Talkative Thursdays. Thank you very much and see you soon.